This story is titled, My Sister Tried to Kick Me Out of Our Parents' House so she could have it all to herself, so I taught her a harsh lesson. Hi, I'm Emily, a 28-year-old from the United States, and let me just say, family drama is something I thought I'd never have to deal with at this level. I grew up in what I thought was a pretty normal family. My sister Sarah and I were close in age. She's only 2 years older than me. And we were raised to value hard work, respect, and most importantly, family. Or at least, that's what I believed until this ordeal. The story begins shortly after our parents retired and decided to move down to Florida to enjoy their golden years. They left our childhood home to both Sarah and me, with the understanding that we would share it equally. The house was paid off, and my parents wanted it to be a lasting part of our family, a place for us to live, make memories, and even raise our own families someday if we chose to. At the time, this arrangement seemed perfect. Sarah and I both lived in the house after our parents moved out, and though we had different lives, she worked as a real estate agent, and I was building my career as a freelance graphic designer, it felt like the right balance. But things quickly took a turn. A few months into living together, Sarah started acting different. She became possessive of the house, almost as if it were solely hers. It started small. She would rearrange furniture without asking, redecorate rooms, and complain about how I was ruining her vision for the home. At first, I brushed it off. I thought maybe she was just adjusting to the idea of sharing the space with me. But then her comments became sharper and more frequent. "You know, Emily," she said one day as we sat in the living room, "it doesn't make sense for both of us to stay here forever. This house is way too big for two people, and honestly, I could use the space for work. You don't even need it as much as I do." I stared at her, confused. "What are you talking about? We both own the house. It's not like one of us gets to decide who stays or goes." She shrugged, a sly smile creeping onto her face. "I'm just saying, I could take care of the place better. You're always so busy with your freelancing. Wouldn't you be happier in an apartment closer to the city?" I didn't respond, but my gut told me something was off. Sarah wasn't just suggesting I move, she was laying the groundwork to push me out. A few weeks later, her behavior escalated. She started hosting loud gatherings with her work colleagues, completely disregarding my need for a quiet workspace. She'd bring in expensive decor without consulting me and make it clear that my input wasn't welcome. And then, one night, she hit me with the big one. "Emily, we need to talk," she said, her tone serious. "I've been thinking about this for a while, and I think it's time for you to move out. It just makes sense." My jaw dropped. "Excuse me?" Sarah sighed as if she were the victim in this situation. "Look, I need more space for my career. This house is a perfect base for my work, and honestly, you don't even seem that attached to it. Why don't you sell me your share? I'll give you a fair price, and you can use the money to find your own place." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Sarah, this isn't just your house. Mom and Dad left it to both of us. I have just as much right to be here as you do." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be so stubborn, Emily. You're holding me back by staying here. You're younger. You don't have as many responsibilities, and you could easily find something else. I'm offering you a solution." "A solution to what?" I shot back. "Your inability to share what's not yours to take?" Her face hardened. "If you're going to be difficult about this, then maybe I'll have to handle it another way." I didn't know what she meant by that, but I wasn't about to stick around and find out. I couldn't shake the feeling that Sarah was planning something, and unfortunately, I was right. Over the next few weeks, she made it her mission to make my life miserable. It started with small things, turning the thermostat down to an almost freezing level and claiming she preferred the cold, accidentally locking me out of the shared office we used, and rearranging my things without telling me. But then, it got worse. One morning, I woke up to find that my room had been completely emptied of furniture. Panicked, I searched the house and found my bed, desk, and other belongings crammed into the basement. "What the hell, Sarah?" I yelled, confronting her in the kitchen. She didn't even flinch. "Oh, I thought you'd prefer having your things in the basement since you're always working down there. It's just more practical, don't you think?" I was livid. "You had no right to touch my stuff. You're trying to push me out, aren't you?" She smirked. "I'm just trying to make things easier, for both of us." I was done playing nice. I told her to move everything back to where it belonged, but she refused, claiming it was her house and that I should be grateful she was letting me stay. I didn't know what to do. Every day felt like a battle, and I was growing more and more exhausted. I confided in my parents, hoping they would intervene, but they didn't want to get involved. Work it out between yourselves, my mom said over the phone. You're both adults. Frustrated and desperate, I decided to do some digging. If Sarah wanted to play dirty, I could too. I started keeping a record of everything she was doing. Every time she moved my things, every time she interfered with my work, and every time she blatantly disrespected our agreement to share the house equally. But the real game changer came when I discovered something shocking. One evening, while Sarah was out, I noticed a stack of papers on the dining table. They were real estate documents, and my curiosity got the better of me. I skimmed through them and froze when I saw what they were. Preliminary paperwork to sell the house. Sarah was planning to sell our parents' home, our home, without telling me. I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. How could she be so selfish? This house wasn't just bricks and mortar. It was a symbol of our family, of all the memories we had made growing up, and she wanted to get rid of it for her own gain. When Sarah returned that night, I confronted her, holding the papers in my hand. "What is this?" I demanded. Her face went pale for a moment, but she quickly recovered. "Oh, that? It's nothing. Just an idea I've been exploring." "An idea? You're trying to sell the house without even telling me." Sarah rolled her eyes. "Don't be so dramatic, Emily. I haven't done anything yet. Besides, I'm the one who actually needs this house. You don't even care about it the way I do." I couldn't believe her audacity. "This house isn't just yours to sell. It belongs to both of us, and you know that." She crossed her arms, her expression smug. "Well, good luck stopping me. You can either sell me your share now, or deal with it when the house is on the market. Your choice." That was the final straw. I wasn't about to let Sarah bully me out of what was rightfully mine. I decided to take matters into my own hands. The next day, I met with a lawyer to discuss my options. I explained the situation, showed them the documents, and detailed all the ways Sarah had been trying to push me out. The lawyer assured me that I had a strong case, especially since Sarah had no right to sell the house without my consent. Armed with legal advice, I prepared to fight back. The following week, I handed Sarah a formal letter from my lawyer, outlining my rights and making it clear that any attempt to sell the house without my permission would result in legal action. Sarah was furious when she read it. "You're really going to lawyer up against your own sister?" She spat. "I didn't want it to come to this," I said firmly, "but you gave me no choice." For the first time, Sarah seemed genuinely worried. She knew she was in the wrong, and now she was facing real consequences. But I wasn't done yet. Sarah didn't back down right away, of course. She tried to keep up her intimidation tactics, but now I had the law on my side, and that gave me confidence. Whenever she'd snarkily comment about how I didn't belong in the house or act as if I was an intruder, I reminded her, calmly but firmly, that this house was just as much mine as it was hers. But Sarah wasn't ready to give up. She escalated her efforts in ways that were almost laughable. She began outright lying to her friends and colleagues, telling them I was some freeloading sister who refused to leave her house. Word got back to me through mutual acquaintances, and it hurt. This was my family, my own sister, trying to ruin my reputation just to get her way. One day, Sarah even went so far as to bring a real estate agent over without telling me. I was sitting in the living room, working on a client's project, when I heard voices in the foyer. I looked up to see a woman I didn't recognize, clipboard in hand, taking notes and pointing at the walls. "Who is this?" I asked, my voice sharp. Sarah strolled in, acting like she owned the place. "Oh, this is Claire. She's here to give me a market evaluation on the house. Just ignore us." "Market evaluation?" I repeated, stunned. "You can't just bring someone in without telling me. This isn't your house to sell, Sarah." The real estate agent looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize there were legal disputes about the ownership of the property. I'll have to excuse myself." Sarah glared at me as the agent left, but I didn't care. I was done letting her steamroll me. That night, I decided it was time to go on the offensive. With the help of my lawyer, I filed a formal injunction to prevent Sarah from making any moves to sell the house. I also requested mediation, so we could address the situation in a structured, legal setting. When Sarah was served with the paperwork, she absolutely lost it. "You're ruining everything," she shouted, slamming the papers down on the dining table. "Do you have any idea how hard this is for me? I need this house for my work, for my future, and you're just sitting here, holding me back like some entitled brat." I stayed calm, even though my blood was boiling. "I'm not holding you back, Sarah. You're the one trying to take what isn't yours. Mom and Dad left this house to both of us because they wanted us to share it. But instead of working together, you've done everything you can to make me feel unwelcome." Sarah's face twisted in anger, but she had no response. She knew I was right. The mediation session was tense, to say the least. Sarah came in with her typical bravado, acting as if she was the only one who deserved the house. She brought up her career, her supposed need for the space, and even tried to argue that I wasn't using the house to its full potential. But my lawyer and I were ready. I presented all the evidence I had gathered, the ways she had tried to sabotage my living situation, the documents I had found, showing her intent to sell the house without my consent, and even a recording of her admitting that she thought I should just leave. The mediator listened carefully, and by the end of the session, it was clear who was in the wrong. Sarah was forced to back down. Not only was she prohibited from selling the house, but the mediator also suggested we establish clear rules about how to share the property moving forward. But I wasn't done yet. I knew that living with Sarah, after everything that had happened, would be unbearable, so I made her an offer. I would buy out her share of the house. My lawyer helped me draw up a fair proposal, and after a lot of back and forth, Sarah reluctantly agreed. When the paperwork was finalized, I felt a wave of relief. The house was mine, completely mine. Sarah moved out shortly after, and though we've kept our distance since then, I don't regret standing up for myself. This experience taught me a valuable lesson. Family can be complicated, but that doesn't mean you have to let yourself be walked all over. Boundaries matter, and sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even when it's hard. To anyone listening, if you're dealing with someone who's trying to take advantage of you, don't let them. You have more power than you think. And remember, you're worth standing up for. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this one.